Howdy folks, TJ here. How many of you here felt back in the 1980s and even into the 90s that Atari could have or did rule the desktop publishing world? I was one of those that believed Atari had a chance to have something second that was special that could bring them into the bigger world of computing, because in reality, Atari was huge in Atari gaming in the 70s and early 80s. Computing, they never quite made it to the size of, say, Apple is today, or the IBM was. I've got a spot on my glasses. I got to clear the spot up. You know, I'm one of those anal guys that, spots or streaks on my glasses drive me crazy. What was the first thing that Atari had that was huge, that they really kind of was above and beyond everybody else in the computing world? MIDI. The world of music. I still got that spot on my glasses. I can sit here for hours and make a 5-hour video. I'm going to get that damn spot. Anyway, MIDI, music. Atari really had a niche, and they didn't capitalize on it, I don't think, as big as they could have. It seems to be the way that I look at Atari. Atari had so many great ideas, so many great computers, so many great things. They could never fully capitalize on those things. Was it money? Was it management? A mixture of both? Some other things? It could be a little bit of everything. But MIDI was pretty nice little market for Atari. The other one, and in some other countries, we've got to remember, Atari's more than just the United States. I'm in the U.S., so what I see most of the time was United States. But I was always envious of... did I start this recording? Yes, I did. I was envious of those folks over in Germany, UK, Europe, other areas that had big old magazines, all color, that was all about the Atari. We had plenty of magazines in the U.S., but it just seemed like everything was a little greener, better on the other side. I don't know if that was really the case. It just seemed like some of the smaller platforms, I call smaller, not Apple here in the United States, not IBM. Over in the other countries, they seem to grasp on and hold on to and continue longevity of some of these other platforms. Like, for some reason in my mind, desktop publishing and Atari in Germany was a big thing. They actually had a nice little foothold of power without the price, great power with an Atari TT-030. You could have wonderful desktop publishing. Now, why am I talking about this? Because I was perusing, that I've got lots of magazines, some brochures. I came across this brochure, and I thought we would look at it together today and rekindle, could Atari have been bigger and better and badder in the world of desktop publishing than they were? When I think of desktop publishing and Atari, I think of two main platforms: PageStream, which is what I gravitated to, and Calamus. I think at the time Calamus was more expensive than PageStream, and power without the price, cheapy little TJ, only having so much money. I went with PageStream, and it maxed out. I think PageStream ended at version 2.2? That's what I remember for the Atari. Calamus continued on many years afterwards, though, and especially overseas. They had Calamus SL and all of these other ones that into the 90s really continued Atari's, I'm not going to say dominance, because I really don't know in Germany if Apple had, desktop publishing here in the United States was Apple. They had a huge, they were artsy-fartsy. That was Apple, right? Overseas, I don't know, but for some reason I see, and I continue to see, prosperity with Atari in places like Germany. Anyway, desktop publishing. This is a 1988 brochure. So this is when Atari was still pretty fresh. The Atari 520 ST was introduced in 85. So by the time 88 came, they were now hot and heavy into the Mega series. They had the 520 ST, the 1040 ST. Then they came out with the Mega ST, which was a 2 megabyte or 4 megabyte model. I purchased in 1990, when I got married. I went to San Jose Computer in California. I drove from an hour from where I lived to get there, and I purchased locally my Atari Mega 2 ST. I thought it looked a little bit more businesslike. I always had that entrepreneur side of TJ that wanted to make magazine, which I ended up making my little At Society newsletter magazine. Or I wanted to, maybe make a web page or web browser or make advertising. So I really love the idea of desktop publishing. I mean, we all had, what was the name of the program on the 8-bit print shop? Everybody and their mother had that, was it called Print Shop? I think so. Where you'd make cards and Christmas cards for mom and dad. We had those in the 80s. And I had that program and made stuff on my Atari. And I did it back then. And then I gravitated, making things a little bit more professional. So Atari, with their ST line of computers, and then the laser printer, what was it, the SLM804, and then they came out later with the SLM605, something like that. I never owned an Atari branded laser. I did buy some other laser printers at the time, but never an Atari one. So let's show you the front cover. I'm showing it to you first. I'll hold it in a few different angles. And it says Desktop Publishing Phase 2, Atari Computer. Now, what's the Phase 2 mean? Was that their Phase 2 of marketing, such a thing? There was a Phase 1 and then a Phase 2? I don't know. But it's cool front cover. It's got their original laser printer on the front. Kind of frumpy looking. The 605 definitely was sleeker and sexier looking than the original one they had. But this was a laser printer. And the way they connected Atari to their laser printers with, what was it, what's the name of the port on it? DLM port, D something port, DMA port? I don't remember. But it was a high-speed interface that connected directly to the laser printer. So instead of waiting bazillion hours for something to print, I think one of Atari's claim to fame was very quick printing. So front cover again looks cool. Let's show you the back cover. This is a multi-fold advertisement. And you may not see this up super close, but I'm just giving you the general, and then we'll read some of this together. So the back says, Atari Desktop Publishing, the system that makes text fit to print. SLM 804 specifications. Printing method is a non-impact electrophotographic semiconductor laser with scanning beam. Ooh, a whole lot of loves in there for laser printer. Developing method, write, like you're writing, write to white, the color white, using dry toner, okay? Printing protocols emulates Diablo 630 command set. Ooh, that's old. I mean, how many here in the modern age of computing know what a Diablo is? I would venture to say no. Maybe it's a bigger name than I think it was, but back then Diablo was one of the big things. I don't think I've seen the word Diablo for decades. Anyway, Diablo 630 command set, GDOS, printer driver support. Nothing in here about the word PostScript. If you're an Apple person, PostScript, the two go hand in hand. Professional printing, PostScript. Okay, warm-up time, approximately 2 minutes. Us men are quick. 2 minutes is plenty. Okay, printing speed. First page in approximately 22 seconds, then 8 pages per minute. That's screaming good for back then. Resolution. Horizontal, 300 dots per inch. Vertical, 300 dots per inch. So 300 by 300. In today's world, that's low. But back then, for a laser printer, that was pretty damn hot. 300 by 300 was where you were at. Print material standard, zero graphic paper. They have to really key up these words. Zero graphic paper. I mean, come on. It's just a freaking piece of paper. Envelopes, labels, or transparencies. Paper sizes, North American, letter and legal, European, A4 and B5. I was always envious of the big magazines from over in Europe. I tell you, just that little extra space made the world of bitchin' ass. Man, I wish I had all those magazines, made me feel that way. I did get some European magazines back in the day, though. Paper feed mechanism, auto feed with paper cassette, 250 sheets maximum, manual feed feature, paper exit face down, collated sequence, 50 sheets maximum, A toner cartridge is good for 3,000 pages. Drum life, 10,000 pages. I worked for a company that repaired laser printers. A very huge one made by hmmmm, Q-U-M-E. They were a popular laser and dummy terminal company back in the day, monitor. Anyway, people would always leave the toner in the laser printers. So when they arrived, it was like throwing 1,000 eggs in the microwave and hot dogs and turning it up to 10 minutes and open it up and see what it's like. That's what toner, it made such a mess. Even though you would tell them, before you send in the printer, take out all these consumables because it will make a mess and ruin for life. We cannot repair this printer. And it's amazing how many came in with toner damage. Anyway, let me cough. I got a fur ball. Okay, monthly average print volume, 3,500 pages. Dimensions, it was a whopping 16 inches by 20 inches by 12 inches, roughly. Weight was 50 pounds. It was a little heavy fart. It's kind of like my corgi dog. Little fat fart. He's smaller. He looks small, but he's a little fat son of a bitch. Interface, parallel DMA. DMA, see, I got it. It took me a while. I said DLM, and I finally said, did I say DMA? I think I did. To serial video. And it says Atari computer, and it's got, fun little graphics in the back. It looks professional. The pages are all gridded. It's got a nice grid on there. So anyway, let's open up the page. Oh, I dropped it. Oh, you just stole my ball spot. Glad that I didn't turn around and bend over. You'll see some Krakatoa. Okay, we'll show you. I'm going to open it up fully because this is a 3-page. I'm going to have to hold it back here to get all the pages in. Or I could do like the Apple, the original Mac, when Steve Jobs introduced the Mac and it came across, it goes dun, 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 hello, and it wrote it across and it kind of scrolled. That's what I'm doing now. But here's the inner pages, and then I'll show you a little bit closer. Hopefully the glare is not too bad, but those are all the inner pages. And then here's the outer pages. You've seen 2, but there's one last page that's got some nitty-gritty on there. Okay, cool. So we're going to concentrate on first these inner pages here. Okay, so we've got, it's got some pages, it's got some pictures on here. I wonder what they printed this on. Did they print this on? It wasn't an Atari. Well, they may have done the text on Atari, but the pictures, 300 dot per inch. How did they scale up to 1200 DPI or something that was more presentable for a brochure of the day? In the world of electronics, the second phase of anything is they're explaining phase. Okay, the second phase of anything is a vast improvement over the original. It eliminates the shortfalls, takes out the kinks. So they're calling it phase 2, but they never had a laser printer before that. So are they comparing it to other brands and other companies of phases or their own dot matrix letter quality? Also, they had some impact. It's a daisy wheel type, and they also had the dot matrix. Are they comparing it to that? Laser printers are a fine example. So they're, I think, globally just comparing it to the first phase of laser printers, and this is Atari considers a second phase. They truly represent the future of printing, laser printers are. But earlier technology is painfully slow, cumbersome, and greatly restricted. You know that you are working with older technology when it seems to take forever to see a finished printed piece. That's because older systems rely on their printers to do the thinking. We're starting to learn how Atari approached laser printing. Earlier laser printers included a processor which receives the instructions from a computer, translates these into print commands, and tells the printer to perform. Print, print, print. And lengthy, complex pages can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to process. Since it generally takes at least 4 or 5 trial printouts to get a finished piece just right, working with an outdated printer can cost you up to an hour just waiting for something to happen. That doesn't even include print time. With an Atari Mega computer and an Atari SLM 804 printer, it takes just about a minute. And then they have a little asterisk next there to explain what they mean by that. Which means that if you are in making 5 different printouts, your total waiting time is all of 5 minutes. Let's talk pictures. So, the Atari SLM 804 prints at 300 dots per inch. DPI, that's sharp, it says. And accurate. Just look at the illustrations we've created and then picture your own reports, charts, graphic designs, and engineering drafts, but processing image takes time. At 300 DPI, a 4x5-inch picture takes 225,000 bytes of memory. On a regular laser printer, this data has to travel through the computer's serial port, which we all know serial is relatively slow, right? The Apple Macintosh uses an RS-422. They're starting to compare now. Port, which is considerably faster than the IBM's RS-232 port. In fact, the Mac runs at about 32 kilobytes per second. Imaging data on the Atari runs at a blazing speed that's roughly 9 to 10 times faster than a Mac. Enough said. That's what this page was all about. It was showing pictures of what your stuff could look like, and it's laying out why the Atari desktop publishing platform is going to be superior. Let's see what more they back up with. So Atari's publishing system is the next generation. A memory is a terrible thing to waste. I just acting kind of stoned there. We've all been there. Admit it. You don't say you haven't. You little prim and proper son of a bee. You've been there. You've been having Dorito munchies at about midnight quite often, I'm sure. A memory is a terrible thing to waste. Quite a few of those printers have their own memory banks. They need them because they've got to store the data they get from their computers. Folks who own an older printer know that sometimes they have to buy an extra memory upgrade kit because their printer doesn't have the capacity to handle a page of text and graphics. Okay, so you have to buy memory modules and stuff. Extra kits cost extra money, and all of that memory is useless when you're not using the printer. Yeah, it makes sense if you're putting it in the printer. On an Atari, all the brain power is in our Mega 2 and Mega 4 computers. So when the printer is not in use, you still have 2 or 4 megabytes of usable RAM, respectively. Expandable power. Atari Mega computers offer exceptional publishing versatility. Each system has a universal RS-232 port and an industry standard parallel port. The RS-232 is your window to the modem world of electronic information. And they didn't say modern word, it said modem world, not modern. Information and mail services. You can communicate with a computer in the office or with a friend's system. I did that all the time with my friend Bruce. We would connect our computers together via regular phone dial-up and text each other back and forth. Those were the days. It connects to, let's see, where did I leave off? You can communicate with a computer in the office or a friend system. It also connects to a serial printer or any other RS-232 device. The Atari SLM 804 hooks up to the system's high-speed direct memory access, that's what DMA stands for, DMA port, which leaves the parallel port free for additional equipment, including printer or plotters. Of course, the same port will accommodate many parallel printers on the market. So this is where it gives you a good picture, a good glimpse on what the Atari Mega system with a laser printer, and you'll notice the Mega's got the computer and the hard drive, the Mega file below it. So it was truly a power horse at the time. I so wanted to get, I own the Mega 2, Mega STE2, Mega 2. Different Mega 2s have the verbiage on the little thing different. Some say Mega 2 ST, some say Mega 2 ST or Mega ST2. It was all over the place, but needless to say, it was a 2 megabyte version of the Mega. I couldn't afford Atari's Mega file under the monitor looking exactly like the Mega 2 computer. So I ended up buying a Toad file from Toad Computer, and I put that separately, and then I put a monitor on it. So I had my Mega 2 with a color monitor on it, and then the Toad file with a monochrome monitor on it, with a monitor master to switch between the two, because desktop publishing back then, you typically did it on a higher resolution, and the Atari Atari monochrome monitors were really pretty damn nice. So I did, color for gaming, and then professional work or word processing, I used the monochrome. So anyway, the next page, it talks about it's music to your ears. And I'll show you that page. This is going to be a long video, so if you get bored by somebody else showing you pictures and then reading and then explaining their 2 cents, you may not enjoy these videos, but I enjoy doing them just because I like to talk. Talk. It's music to your ears. Aside from simply transferring and printing reports, figures, and graphic data, the Atari system goes one better. The CPU has a built-in MIDI port, too, which means that if you are online to your musical composer through your modem port, you could download an arrangement, play it back on the synthesizer connected to your MIDI port, add lyrics to the piece, and print out the hit score sheet and all. So it's showing you with all these extra, like the DMA port and the serial ports, them all getting to do other things. It really opened up collaboration pretty nicely, I would say. Of course, if you are into spreadsheets, newspapers, medical facts, automotive, and fashion design, your Atari handles that too. Sans music, but you'll feel like singing when you see your results. Professional CAD 3D software from Antic Publishing, word processing programs such as Microsoft Write, and WordPerfect. WordPerfect, good old WordPerfect. It's like WordStar. When's the last time you saw WordStar? Okay, where did I leave off? WordPerfect from WordPerfect Corporation, plus page layout programs like MyGraphs EasyDraw, publishing partner by SoftLogic Publishing Corporation, Spectrum Holobytes, Fleet Street Publisher, and great many more, all available now. It's funny how, and I don't know why they didn't do this, because I think this was out beforehand, but maybe Calamus and PageStream came out after these other ones. I don't know my time date stamps in my head. Very well could have been that these were the early, because I think maybe the SoftLogic Publishing Corporation, did SoftLogic end up moving into PageStream? Is SoftLogic and PageStream one of the same? I would have to go back and look. I don't remember. There isn't anything you can't do if you set... No, there just isn't anything you can't do if you set your Atari to it. And you can do it so much simpler, so much faster, for so much less. Power without the price, right? And then they have benchmarks. That's what the asterisk... Benchmarks earlier talk about, based on our system using Microsoft Write and MyGraphs EasyDraw. And it goes into some technical mumbo-jumbo that you probably don't care about. And I don't care about it this time. But we're going to do the last page, because this is probably how you would have read it. And you didn't see that page yet, but this page is what I'm going to read next. And then we'll wrap up this video. It's a long one. The Atari Desktop Publishing System, with its power, speed, and versatility, is able to use a variety of popular software programs to create professional formats in a wide arrangement of type styles and sizes. The Atari Desktop Publishing System, ADP, I guess we can consider it, right? With its power, speed, and versatility, is able to use a variety of popular software programs. The Atari Desktop Publishing System, with its power, speed, and versatility, is able to use a variety of popular software. The Atari Desktop Publishing System, it's typing the same thing in all of these different typefaces. So it sounded like I was reading the same thing over and over, but that's what this top section is doing. It's got different typefaces to show you've got that capability with the Atari. And it continues that whole process down this page, the Atari Desktop Publishing System. And then it shows this picture. So, yeah, that's the whole brochure. I think I read everything. So, fun brochure. So, I feel kind of saddened that the Atari of the time didn't become a juggernaut with desktop publishing. Were they a juggernaut with MIDI and music? For some reason, I feel like they were one of the popular ones, but I don't know if they were ever the one. I don't have specs and facts to prove it, but I do know that Atari attended a lot of those, what was it called, NAM show, DOM, SNOM, the NAM, National something something music. I'm going to say NAAM. We'll go back and look a little later to see how far I am or off. But anyway, they did a lot of the music shows. They were pretty, I'm going to say, a juggernaut with the music world. They had, the hotspots and all these things and MIDI built into a relatively inexpensive computer. With desktop publishing, I felt like, oh wow, this is the business side of Atari. Come on, baby, you can do it. You can get as big as Apple. You can get bigger than IBM, because IBM, in my opinion, it was desktop publishing. Apple, and then realistically, it was probably IBM, and then everybody else below it, like the Ataris, the Amigas, and you name it. In my mind, it was Apple, Atari, IBM. Let's put Amiga last. Amiga had the same, they had PageStream, and actually PageStream carried on longer on the Amiga side than on the Atari side. But when I think of Amiga, I think of video production. That was their niche. That was what they could have blown everybody else away. And maybe in the early days, they were a juggernaut. Atari, music. Desktop publishing, I'm going to have to give it to Apple. But Atari was there. I felt like just one little stroke of luck, something would have brought them over. It never happened. Maybe in other countries, like I said, in Germany and so on, it could have. But anyway, desktop publishing brochure, phase 2. Now we know what phase 2 stands for. This brochure was a fun step back in time. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great rest of your week. I'm sure in time I'll find some other brochures or other ads in magazines that I'll discuss. And thanks for joining me when I discuss them. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.